Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited today to have my second interview and hope to join on my YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel is African Diaspora Journeys with Sharon. Speaking of, I'm Sharon. It's me. So you're going to go through the African diaspora with me on my YouTube channel. But before I even get into the YouTube part, this whole thing is sponsored through my small little travel business where I do African diaspora type curated trips. And that is called Watermelon with Seeds Travel. We're 2 years old, and I've done several trips, curated trips, specialized trips. And people say, well, why watermelon with seeds? Well, a few years ago, I wanted a watermelon, and I wanted a nice, good watermelon with seeds in it, black seeds. And they couldn't find it. All this watermelon was seedless, but they had a dull taste to them. They weren't sweet and juicy and just good. So I said, well, what's the deal with the seeds? They said, well, we breed them out and all. Anyway, I said, well, I don't know. It just came to me. Well, what seeds in the watermelon is a lot like black folks. We're rare, we're black, we're beautiful, we have nutrients. If you plant us, we grow. And that's why I decided to name my company Watermelon with Seeds Travel. So that's, again, my name is Sharon Ware. I'm your host, but we're not here to hear about me. We're here to hear about Miss Wendy, which will be coming up soon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little background as we get started about what she's going to talk about. We're going to talk about this native-born U.S. citizen that relocates to the Gambia, and her name is Wendy Green. And Miss Wendy, I'm going to briefly introduce her, but I'm going to also let you know about her country before we get into the interview. Miss Wendy is a well-accomplished woman. I met her quite a few years back now through a dinner club. And every time I talked to her, I was like, man, where have you not been? And man, your life is so fascinating and wow. And I realized that she was also an attorney at law. So, very smart. She was doing all these creative things. And I just said, you are someone I want people to know. There's a lot more about Wendy. Wendy's been in the Peace Corps. She's had this amazing life, and we may can ask her more detailed questions later. But that's basically a little bit about her. Now, the continent of Africa, for those who may not know, it's not a country, it's a continent. I don't know how many times I have to say that. And the continent of Africa is 30.3 million kilometers or 11.7 million square miles, including the adjacent islands. So it has islands off the coast. And it covers about 20% of the Earth's land area and 6% of its total surface area. It's the second largest continent. The US can be fit into the continent at least 3 times. And why is that important? I've heard people say Africa's a country. They think Africa's the size of the United States. They have this misconception that it's this foreign place. And Africa is huge and is very rich with natural resources. It has about nearly 1.4 billion people as of 2021, and it accounts for about 18% of the world's population. So when they talk about Africans and being in the minority, seriously, no, I don't think so. Gambia, though, the Gambia it's small comparatively. Now, when we look at that west part of Africa, most of the countries are fairly large. The Gambia, if you look where my arrow is, that little sliver, and I'll give you more information in a minute, but it's that little sliver in there, and it's surrounded by Senegal. So many times when people talk about the Gambia, they talk about Senegal and the Gambia together because it's basically just surrounded. So this is a little more close up. So it's like a little snake and the river goes through it, like a little snake that goes through it. And Wendy could probably give us much more detail, but this gives you an idea. So the Gambia is less than 31 miles wide at its widest point with a total of about 4,361 square miles. About 500 square miles, with 11% of the Gambia area are covered by water. It is the smallest country on the African mainland and is surrounded by Senegal. So let me tell you a little background about the Gambia. So it's called the Republic of Gambia. And, I'll just say the Gambia, but it's called the Republic. The flag itself consists of three horizontal red stripes. Three horizontal stripes. One red, meaning the sun or location near the equator. So it's right at the equator. One blue, meaning the river, which you can see the river goes through it. And one green, the agricultural products. And Wendy will probably talk a little bit about some of the lushness of the Gambia. And so those bands are separated by two thin white lines, which means unity and peace. And this flag was adopted in 1965 to replace the British blue insignia defaced with the arms of the Gambia colony and protectorate. It has been the flag of the Republic of Gambia since the country gained independence that year. So Gambia is a fairly young country. Brief history. So it's a young country in terms of modern society, but the Carthaginic explorer Hanno, the navigator, sailed as far as the Gambia on an expedition in 470 BC. So people were aware of the Gambia way before Christ, way before, this modern civilization obvious. The written records date back. Now, written records, that's not saying any records, but written records back to the 9th century. In the medieval times, the region was dominated by the trans-Sahara trade. So lots of trade was going on, and it was ruled by the kingdoms of the empires of Mali and Songhai empires. You may be aware of the Gambia from Alex Haley's research, where he identified a slave ship, the Loa Linguini, and I might be saying that wrong, which sailed the Gambia River in 1767, before United States was United States. So that ship sailed the Gambia River and captured Gambians. It arrived in Annapolis, Maryland, and many of them died, but 98 survivors. And of course, Alice Haley believed one of those survivors was the 17-year-old Kunta Kinte from the movie and the book Roots. So if you've read that book or heard of that book, that's where it's from. And when he did the research, it was so novel because we didn't know anything about our history. I personally remember growing up in the 50s and reading history of Africa, and it was a paragraph. Africans came to America, they were slaves in the story. So there's this rich history. So I just want to make sure that was clearly understood. That Gambia achieved its independence in 1965 as a constitutional monarchy with the British Commonwealth. And shortly after, the government proposed conversion from a monarchy to a republic, with the elected president replacing the British monarch as chief of state. So that's a little background. This beautiful picture, if I believe is correct, is outside of Wendy's home.
It's not my home, but it's it's the beaches. It's the beaches that we go to in the Gambia. The Gambia is beautiful. It's really beautiful.
So, okay, so we're going to start our interview. So now you know what we're talking about, and we're going to get started with our interview. So welcome, Miss Wendy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate you being here. So, Wendy, like I said, is an attorney at law, and can you tell us anything else about your background?
Well, I will say, yeah, I'm an attorney at law. I studied public health. I've always been kind of in work that serves people, right, rather than like big corporations. I've always done that. But I have a love for Africa that I think was introduced by my mom as a young child, and so I've been going back and forth to Africa for 40, almost 40 years now. Yeah, so it's been quite a while, and I think since the first time I went, I've always been kind of looking for a way to get back like permanently, or just to be able to live, for longer periods of time. So throughout this, throughout my career, I've been to Africa a couple of times. You mentioned Peace Corps, spent 3 years in Peace Corps, but I also went back for my first trip was actually as an international student. So people need to know that you might be able to do that when you're in college. If you have people who are in college who are looking to go to Africa, you might be able to do an exchange, international exchange. Um, and that was in Sierra Leone. I don't believe that's available right now, but you might be able to do other countries. And then I did Peace Corps, and I've also been back for like health work, public health work, and that was in Burkina Faso. So I've spent a lot of time in Sierra Leone. I spent a lot of time in Burkina Faso, and I spent a lot of time in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And I've also now spent a lot of time in the Gambia, which I visited first. My first trip to Africa when I was going to Sierra Leone. When I was a student, we did like a Christmas trip, and we hit Senegal, Gambia, and Mali. So it's been great. Africa has been good for me.
So you've been backwards and forth. You have a home in North Carolina,
Hmm.
but you've been backwards and forth. So why move now? Why, or the last few years, why did you make that move?
I'll be honest with you. I've been wanting to go back to Africa to work and just
Mhm.
for a long time, but um, when COVID hit, it was really like do it now. Do it now because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Do it now because I happen to have lost my mom in COVID. And one of
Mhm.
my biggest regrets was that my mother was also an Africa lover. And she kept saying, I want to go back one more time. I want to go back one more time. And I kept saying, yeah, mom, we're going to go. And I intended to do it. I had in my mind, we're going to hit this country. We're going to go to this place. We're going to do that.
Mhm.
Um, but I always pushed it off because you're working, you know, you know how life can get in the way. So I put it off, and then I realized that I had been meaning to go. And I said, well, what happened to my plan? COVID hit, and I was like, what happened to my plan to go to Africa? I was like, what? And then with everything that happened, it wasn't just COVID, it was also George Floyd. And George Floyd, that situation with George Floyd kind of put right in your face the experience of Black people in America for hundreds of years, and it's like, what are
Mhm.
you waiting for? What am I waiting for? What's the point of hanging on to this, really, when there's something else that could be out there? So I really kind of got a sense of urgency at that point. And I
Mhm.
think my urgency was not just for me to go, but also to kind of prepare a place for like family and friends to land if
Mhm.
they choose to follow at some point. Because I could see, I think even with the election of Obama, how there was like this increase in hate group and hate stuff going on. It's like, okay, this is kind of the way America is moving right now. I said, let's create a place for people to land if they need to. So I got a little bit of an urgency, and then I started working on how to make it happen. And I kind of just, you know, I'm a spiritual person. So, like sometimes God opens my eyes to things, and sometimes the
Mhm.
ancestors are pushing something in front of my face that I'm perceiving. And between all of that, I was able to make it happen sooner than I thought I would be able to make it happen.
So obviously, Gambia's beautiful, Africa's beautiful, but what challenges did you find in making that move? Can you talk about some real specific, you don't have to say everything because we're talking
Mhm.
about for a couple of years, but
Yeah.
what was some of the major challenges that you want people to know about so that they can kind of look out and make plans accordingly?
I would say for me, the biggest challenge has been wanting to keep a footprint in America, like not wanting to pack up and leave. Getting to that point where I can do that and really just go and enjoy Africa, just hope be, 2 feet in Africa, just kind of permanently, with trips back and forth as I choose. Um, when you build a life in America, it's hard to kind of shut it down,
Hmm.
especially if you don't really want to shut it down, right? Because America always has, and there's always like, if you have a house, there's always going to be stuff to pay for that house. So you've got to make sure you've got money coming in somehow, some way to do everything you want to do. So that for me has been, I think, probably the biggest challenge. And that's just a matter of, I think I
Mhm.
wasn't sufficiently, I was prepared in a lot of ways, but stuff that I thought would work out didn't work out, and the plan B wasn't there. So I had to kind of regroup
Mhm.
on that. But some people, when they go, they choose to just shut everything down, just shut, like, sell the house, sell the property, sell everything, and go to Africa.
Mhm.
And you can do either way. People, whatever's comfortable for you, go ahead and do
Mhm.
it. But that was one of my biggest um, challenges.
Mhm.
Um, on the ground in the Gambia, I think language is an issue because sometimes
Mhm.
communication can be a little bit funky. Gambia is an English speaking country, but not everybody speaks English. And some people who you think speak English understanding you don't really. And they're just saying, yeah, yeah, just to be kind of.
Mhm.
So that can lead to miscommunication. You think one thing, they think another thing, right? So, but that's something that you can take care of. If you know you're going to the Gambia and like, for instance, they speak Wolof, Mandinka, Jola, Hula, whatever. You can choose one of those countries. Like, you can choose one of those languages, like Wolof or Mandinka, for example, which are probably the most widely spoken,
Mhm.
and maybe just start learning that.
Mhm.
But that's something that I want to do. And there are classes, and there are people who have classes for us. And we actually have an American woman who's fluent in Wolof, and she offers classes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that can be done. Other than that, I would say, maybe what the other challenge I would say is underestimating how much money you need and
Mhm.
how much money you will spend. One of the reasons why I chose the Gambia was because it was less expensive than, say, like, for instance, Ghana. And I also, for me, Ghana is beautiful, and I want to go. I visited Ghana once a long time ago. I want to go back again, but Ghana is more developed. The capital city and the towns inside, are also. And so, um, I didn't really want anything as busy as I thought Ghana might be. Um, and I didn't want to go like far up country Ghana to live like more rural because it's like further. So the Gambia being so small, you can go kind of outside of town. You can be like in the suburbs or something like that and really not be that far,
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what we did. That's what we kind of ended up doing. We have a
Mhm.
place um that's maybe 30 minutes from like the major uh, commercial centers and stuff. Yeah,
So you have a home there.
we do. We
You
do.
talk about that?
Yeah, we uh, one of the things that I would say to anybody to do if they're ever thinking about anything, because now, like, you're on YouTube and there I'm like on those YouTube streets, like all the time.
Mhm.
So I found the people who were doing their thing in the Gambia, and I would watch their videos. They come out with a new video, I'm going to watch it because I learned a lot by watching the videos. I learned a lot,
Mhm.
and that was one of the things that made me decide um, about the Gambia was seeing the videos. So one of the things that I did see, one of the things that I don't like personally, I'm not a big renter because I don't like being in a house and then like the rent goes up or there are problems with it. It's just, to me, it's just too much that's like outside of my control. Some people love the fact that they don't have responsibility, but in the Gambia, when you rent, you need to understand this too. The expectation from the Gambian landlords is that you will take care of the repairs, right? So if something goes wrong, like in America, you're like, the pipe burst or the electricity, something's going on, the wiring, that would automatically be something without even asking that the landlord has to take care of. But in the Gambia, it's the opposite. So you pay, and the
Mhm.
other thing you pay in the Gambia is you'll pay for a full year's worth of rent generally, unless you find like short-term rentals. They'll want for the full year. So
Mhm.
once you're in it, you've already put all this money into it, and you can't just like pick up and leave if it doesn't work.
Mhm. It's
Um,
interesting.
yeah. So for me, I wanted I saw something on YouTube about Taft City, and I had seen stuff about this gentleman, Mr. Taft, before about him. He's done a number of developments in the Gambia and in other countries,
Mhm.
and so I figured he was big enough and public enough that if we went with him, he couldn't just hide and slink away or just say, he was big enough, had a corporation that, he could be held accountable if something went wrong.
Mhm.
So we went with it. He was developing a new development. Um, and so we went with it. We got one of the smaller units, like the second smallest unit that they sold. We got that. And yeah, you know. We just went with
Mm.
it. So we're in it now, and I love it. I love having a house. This is like the first time that I actually have a house that I'm not paying for, because every house I'm still paying the mortgage. You know, this is
So
the
you had to pay for it cash or
you can pay for it on an extended basis, but not like 30 years.
mm,
You can pay for it cash, or you can pay for it as the house is being constructed, kind of like how you do construction here in the States.
mm,
Or they have a mortgage. I think it's like a 5-year mortgage.
so pretty
So,
short,
mhm.
pretty
So you can
short.
do it that. So you'll have to give like maybe 25% or something like that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then through the course of the years, you'll finish it up. So you can get a house. And and this also for me, I'm really happy that we did that, because it makes it so that I don't have to worry about paying the rent. That's one financial thing I don't have to worry about. We have
Hmm.
like an annual fee once a year. You pay that, and you pay your own electricity as you go, but the water is included, the trash collection is included,
Hmm.
the security is included. So it worked out really well.
That sounds really nice.
Hmm.
So you mentioned some challenges, but what was the reward of being there? What do you think is your greatest reward?
I can't even explain to someone who's not been to Africa how it feels to be in Africa as a Black person, as this Black person. Um, the peace that you get, it
Mhm.
really, it's something. I don't know if it's a vibrational thing, or it's just like the ancestors that accompany you, they're at ease once you get back. I don't know what it is, but no matter where I am in Africa, I am always better, um, peace wise, than I am
Mhm.
in the United States.
Well,
Um,
you look young. You when you came back this time, it was like
yeah,
she's looking really good.
yeah. The other thing that I think happened this last time, because that was a good, I had like a good number of months, because I have been really going back and forth, which I had not intended to do, but I have had to kind of go back and forth. Since we moved, I've had to like move back and forth, but it's come back to just take care of things in the United States. But I really also feel like I was able to detox. Let me tell you, everything that we breathe, that we eat, that we put on our skin, all of that has stuff that we don't really, our bodies, in my opinion, don't know how to process. I think that's why
Mhm.
we get like build up, and then we get disease and we get stuff like that. And it's not to say that some of those chemicals and some of those processes and stuff don't exist in Africa. They do, but you can get truly organic food, and food that, like, when you put it in the fridge 2 days later, you can't be eating it anymore, because it's already like, you can't keep your lettuce for a week, in the game, even if you have it refrigerated. Um, and I really felt like this last time that I was able to detox, right? That I was able, my body was really truly detoxing. And this is not just me. Like, when I'm in the Gambia, like right now I'm in the States, but in the Gambia, I look at the people, I look at particularly the diasporans, those of us who come, and from year to year, month to month, whatever, everybody's looking better and better and better. I mean, it's just, everybody's just looking more beautiful. Everybody's looking more healthy. It's really a phenomenon that I think all Black people, who are not in Africa, need to experience at least once in their life. Just go and visit, see how it feels, um, to you. Now, there are some people who will get there and they'll say like the inconveniences of living in Africa and in Gambia in particular are not worth it.
Mhm.
Some people need, like, I have hot water at my house. I don't have a problem with that. But there are some places where it may be more difficult to get. It may be inconsistent.
Mhm.
The electricity may be inconsistent and things like that. And the roads not being all paved. Some people complain like exclusively about the roads. I'm like, a road is never going to stop me from doing what I have to do. But there are some people who, for that's very important, and so they're like, I need to be on a U.S. road, um, and
Mhm.
things like that. So, but there is a different feeling in Africa that I think everybody needs to experience just once, even
Just
just once.
once. Yeah, just once.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah.
So, like a lot of countries, they have tourism,
Mhm.
but the tourist dollars really go to the big corporations and not to the locals.
Mhm.
Is the Gambia experiencing anything of that nature?
I can't say that I know that much about who owns the hotels and things in the Gambia, because there are Gambian owned um, hotels, spots, and certainly Gambians are working at them. But like in everywhere else, Westerners tend to have a lot of money, more money um, than a lot of Africans do.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, the Gambia does do. Uh, you have the map on it, so I don't know. It's like 30 miles of um,
Mm-hmm.
coastline,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful beaches. They reserve that for Gambians. So
Mm.
like a certain from the beach inward, like I don't know, like a kilometer or something, or half a kilometer or something. It's for Gambians and it's for um, tourism development. So they're trying to get it so that that's where it is all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They want to encourage that, and they're reserving a spot for that. So if you're an American or you're a Brit or whatever, and you want to go to the Gambia and you want to do something like that, you're probably going to have to partner with a Gambian who has access to that beachfront property. But
Oh,
there are,
interesting.
some people I think who have um, grandfathered in, like non-Gambians who are grandfathered in. And I think that, at some level, you might just, if you have that much money, you might be able to just make it
Mm-hmm.
work. If you're not a Gambian, you might be able to buy some property.
Yeah.
But
Miss
generally, I think
Allison
they
had a
reserve it.
question for you. Miss
Uh-huh.
Allison had a question. Go ahead, Miss Allison. You
Oh,
can.
I'm sorry. Actually, it wasn't a question. I was trying to get your attention because our other sister Carla has been trying to get in, and I was wondering if you could send her relink her so she could get in. And I in the chat I put her email. That's all. I'm
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
just listening. Thank you.
but what I'll do is I'll send her the recording if that's okay. Would that
Okay.
be
All
okay?
right.
I'll send it.
Okay.
Is it too
All
late
right.
for
I'll let
me?
her
Because I
know.
sent it. I sent it to another friend who's like calling from Doha. She was going to try to get in from Doha. I
Yeah,
talked.
I'll
Yeah.
send them the recording because promised you and I try to keep my word that we'll be 45 minutes. So we only
Yes.
have a few minutes left. So
Yes.
I don't want to take up your valuable time and I
Yes.
know you're trying to get away too, trying to
Yeah.
leave. But I
Yes.
Oh,
just
all
have a
right. Thanks. I'll let.
yeah, I'll send a recording to them. Long as I have their email, I'll
Mhm.
send a recording. Um, as we begin to wrap this up, I do want you to talk about your garden co-op.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, can you talk a minute
Yeah.
about
So
that?
that's another thing that I'm a real I'm trying to do Pan Africanism purely. And so there is a diasporan, mostly diasporan group, but it's really open to all Black people.
Mm,
But it's called Jamaica Garden, and the idea is to introduce into Gambia some varieties of food that some of us might want to eat that are not generally available yet there because they're from the Caribbean, they're from America, from wherever. I actually want to introduce foods from other countries in Africa. Like there's things that I like in the Congo that I want to bring and try and grow in the Gambia. And so that is a real endeavor that's making me feel very good because we're working together. There are problems, but we're getting through it. Everybody, people might get a little testy from time to time, but it's like you got to get through this. And I think it's a good exercise for us, especially because we're from like the UK, the US, Jamaica itself, other Caribbean islands, and
mm,
Africa,
mm,
all trying to work together to make this garden happen. And we're making headway.
mm,
So I feel like it's one of those endeavors that can serve as an example for because one of the things that I would like to do in the Gambia is because like one of us may not have resources to get certain kinds of businesses going,
mm,
that we can come together cooperatively and everybody put in a certain amount of money and then we can open a factory or
mm,
then we can do something else. We can do that if
mm,
I can't do it by myself, but I can do it with Sharon and Allison and Carla.
Welcome, Carla.
So that's why yeah, so that's one of the things that I'm doing. I when I talked about having an urgent desire to leave, one of the other things that God kind of put on my heart urgently was food. Like, so it was like, get a garden, get a real garden, get a robust garden that can really supplement your food. And so that's the other thing project that I'm working on. That's my most immediate project.
It's wonderful. In fact, that's something that's a word for all of us. I was impressed 2 years ago to get a garden because of health reasons. They maintaining a garden, you get to exercise, you get to fresh vegetables. So it sounded all nice. But the other day, I wanted to do a particular meal, And I went to the store and I'm not paying $7 for some, you know, basil. I'm just
Yep.
not.
Yep. And
But I
things are
have
going
it
up all
growing, you
over.
know.
In the Gambia,
Yeah.
too, things going up, but there are like local eggs. The eggs are
Mm,
different in the Gambia.
mm,
Eggs
mm,
are delicious. The onions have more taste. They're smaller, but they have more intense taste.
mm.
It's there, and that's another thing, because I think that one of the things that's happened all over Africa is this really concerted effort to kind of
Yeah,
replace
because they
local food
put
with.
right in my packet.
Carl, I
What'd you
don't
say,
hear you.
Carla? Carla?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I meant to be on mute. I put
Oh,
myself on mute.
go ahead and mute your.
But
Okay,
so
thank you.
yeah, so that's so you can get, like I said, I felt like I was detoxed, but I was
Mm,
detoxed because I was eating like eggs that, from a small farmer who had a farm with these eggs that were smaller and delicious, and not, you know, stressed out by being in a cage all its life,
right.
like that.
Mhm,
So yeah, so the garden is a real, and I think a lot of us are doing that too. I think a lot of us feel that we need to do that. There are a number of
mhm,
people, like I said, there's the cooperative garden that we're doing, which I'm
mhm,
just so happy about. I'm like, this is
mhm.
it just makes me happy. So
Yeah, that is wonderful.
yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
we're near the end of our time. Is there other things you want to share with the audience that we hadn't covered yet? That
Yeah,
again,
I would like to say to anybody who watches this, if you think even a little bit about doing something like this, just do it. Come visit. You don't have to spend 2 months to visiting. You can come for a week or two. I would say a week is short because it's a long trip. But like, you can spend 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. Just come and see, and see how you feel. And then, you can get yourself together one way or another. You may never want to come to stay, but you may want to need to come every so often, just to get a break, just to breathe and relax and detox, right? And I really think that it would add to your quality of life if you do that. For
and
most people.
Wendy, every country is different. I've been to 3 countries in Africa, and they're very, very different. It's different as states in the United States. It is very different. And I won't tell you my favorite, but
What's your
but
favorite?
I think that you explore and you just see what's out there. Sometimes
Hmm.
you want to go for a month and detox, and
Hmm.
sometimes you want to go forever. It's just,
Hmm.
but you don't know until you go. You don't
That's
know
the
until you
thing,
go.
that you hit the nail on the head. You don't know
Yeah.
until you go. And the other thing that I would really say is, don't believe what people are telling you, because
Yeah.
there is an effort to not have us unified. There is a distinct project that's been going on for centuries, really, to keep Black people from working together. And
Hmm.
if we believe what people tell us about places where Black people are, and places where Black people can go and build, and
Hmm.
they prevent us from doing it, it's for their benefit. It's not for us. It's not for our benefit. It's for their
Hmm.
benefit. And they
Hmm.
put it out, and then we ourselves perpetuate it. I don't know how many Black people I have met in America, African Americans, who are like, "You going to Africa? They don't like us over there." You know, that's the first thing that comes out of, they don't like us. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, there might be some people who don't like you, but it's not nobody, nobody's like, I hate all African Americans. They may just not like you. So, we just have to, we need to, get out of our mind a lot of the things that we've been taught about Africa, and go and experience it ourselves. And especially as times are going as they are now, where I don't think it's going to be easy. This is part of we've been in this perpetual struggle since we've been here, right?
Hmm.
Hundreds of years. We've been struggling for our dignity, our peace, our prosperity. It's always attacked at all times, and Africa could offer something different that we might be able
Hmm.
to pursue in
Hmm.
a different environment.
Hmm.
Some of the things that we may never even get to here because we're so busy just struggling to survive.
Hmm. Hmm. And there's so much research on when people do that, how they can decrease their medications, their They can decrease their need to go to the masseuse. They can decrease their need to, because when you're relaxed, you don't really need all that. So.
And I'll tell you, what I didn't say, what I should have said before, because this really did figure into my decision to leave when I left. I work in front of computers,
Mm-hmm.
sitting all day long, every day, and I realized that it was going to kill me. To be in front of a computer 10, 12 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
stress and working, all that time, that it was a recipe for a disability or
Mm-hmm.
something health wise. I thought I was almost at the precipice of like leaving sufficiently good health to enjoy life to something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could have might have had a stroke. Something
Mm-hmm.
else could have happened. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's something else I think people need to think about too, because one of the way that I said it at the time was, I want to leave and I want to be in a more healthy environment before I'm held hostage to my health care in America.
Mm-hmm. Very good
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Very good point. Yeah.
yeah.
So we're just at the end of our time pretty much. I don't know if you want to share anything else. Do we have any questions from our audience? You can unmute yourself if you like and ask any questions to Miss Wendy.
Mhm.
Any of you?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
This is somewhat personal question, but I think it might be helpful for people who are considering moving away.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy, how did you deal with leaving your family? I know you consider Africa your family as well,
Mhm.
but how did you feel about picking up and leaving your family in the States?
Yeah, that was not easy. That's not that easy. I just invited my family to come visit. I was just like, please come. And that's why also for me it was not a question of dropping everything and never setting foot, because there are people who go to Africa and they're like, I'm never going back to America. I never said that because my family's in America and I love my family. So for me it was
And your
it was
family loves you?
thank you, Pam. So it was always for me there was never a question that I wouldn't return, and there was never a question that they wouldn't at all times be invited to come. And yeah, so but you won't see people on a daily basis the way you did, and you won't see things the way they are. You won't be there experiencing the same thing. You're creating a new thing for you. It's a new thing. So yeah. But yeah, it's not easy. But I would just say, and leave the door open and let them come. Because I know there are a lot of people with us in the Gambia. Their family comes visit. The people in the UK, they have it really easy because it's so close. They like pop in and out all the time, the UK folks. So, you and you don't have a problem. We don't have a problem with like communication. We can WhatsApp works really well. Um, internet works really well. Zoom is not a problem, so you can stay in touch that way. But if being 24/7 with your family means exposing yourself to, things that may not be healthy physically and spiritually, then you might need to decide that, okay, I'm going to have to go where I'm going to be more healthy, and just, we're going to have to figure out how we can see and communicate and keep in touch. There are a lot of people, even some of the people that you see on YouTube doing the Africa videos, they will all tell you, they're going back, they spend time with their family, and I think that's what people should do, because it's never about like leaving your family behind. It's
Mm-hmm.
always just expanding the family's global footprint.
I know the first time I left the country, my biggest lesson was to budget backwards and forth going home.
Yes.
I didn't think about that.
Mm.
And now if I ever leave, when I consider my budget, that would be part of it. How many times I need to go back, who's elderly, who do I need to go back for a long time period if I need to care for. Because before I was young the first time I went and I didn't budget it. I didn't think about it. But
Mm.
now that would be part of my
Yeah.
consideration.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I have a
Mhm.
friend who comes back. There are a lot of people who don't regularly come back, but I have a friend who comes back every summer. It's rainy season in the Gambia. It's like less fun, you know. and so she comes back in the summer. She gets to spend time with her children and her grandchildren, and she's different. And then by the time, the summer's over, she's ready to pick up and leave again. So, but she does it every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other questions that you may want to ask Miss Wendy? Anybody?
Yeah.
Well, I've been thrilled to be able to have this time with you. I knew we were cutting it short. It wasn't typically, usually I give people a lot of time notice, but that's okay because I will share this on my YouTube channel if I have a younger person help me. So,
We talked about that. Yeah.
but they'll edit it and share it, and I think people will learn from this because I've learned
Well,
things,
I
and
am so thankful. Thank you, because I like sharing this information. This is information that I almost feel like it's our duty to share information. I just think that so many of us don't realize what a jewel Africa can be for us.
mm,
We don't realize it, and so we don't take advantage of it. And here's the last thing: if we don't come, believe me, somebody else is going to be there,
and they're coming. Other
and
people are
they're coming.
coming. I
Yep,
don't know about the Gambia, but in certain places,
they're coming. They're
there's this
coming to
whole
Africa.
phenomena of other
They're coming
countries
because
coming.
they see it, as they see how nice it can be, and so
Mhm.
they are coming.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all righty. Well, it is 12:42, and we're gonna wrap this up. Any last words?
I do have a question.
Mhm.
Yes.
How are you able to build a community in the Gambia that would support you as you were transitioning from the United States?
That's a really good question. We in the Gambia right now, one of the things that I said was I felt like an urgency to kind of create um, a landing spot, not just for myself, but for people who want to come. There are a number of us who feel that same way. So little by little, people are making like structures or just um, providing information to people who want to come. I really, it's a newer African American community. It's a newer like diasporan community than in some other countries. Like in Ghana, they have a big African American uh, cultural center, African Americans in Ghana uh, group. What we're doing is, and some of this has been born out of heartache because we lost somebody. But during that person's final illness, um, those of us who were there who didn't even know each other, we really worked together really well to support. And since then, we've been making more of an effort to come together regularly to support each other. To know that, like, for those of us who are alone, that we need to be checking in regularly. If if Wendy's there and she's by herself, or Wendy's just even with other people, just if you haven't heard from her in a couple of days, just give her a call and see if she's okay. Make sure she's okay. Make sure she got. If people are maybe ill, make sure be there to go to the hospital to make sure that the person's taken care of. So we're doing that kind of organically, creating that space. And I think one of the things that I would like to do personally is create some physical like apartments where people can come and check it out, and people stay for an extent, if you want to come just for a couple months or something and you want to see what's going on in the game, you want to see how you feel, that we create that space. So it's coming along now, Purity, in
Mm-hmm.
Gambia. And I think we're really on a good road. And like I said, the whole thing with the Jamaica Garden, where we're coming together as a group, is also part of that. But we're really doing. I feel a lot better. I was a little bit taken aback, to be honest with you, when I first arrived, because I had some interesting encounters with couple of African Americans, and I was like, wow. So I just decided I'm gonna have to make relationships organically, not try to push this and say, okay, since we're both from the same hemisphere, that we
Mm-hmm.
should be able to get along. That doesn't work. But
Yeah.
but there are enough of us who are there who really want to help others. We really have it on our hearts to be available. So to let people know this is what's available, to say, hey, you need a ride, or
Yeah.
medical care. So we have like WhatsApp groups also for that type of thing. We're doing a lot through WhatsApp lately. We've got like neighborhood WhatsApp groups. We've got a health WhatsApp group. We've got a business WhatsApp group, and then there's like a social WhatsApp group, like what's going on in town. And the picture that you showed was at one of the affairs that was put together, just kind of thrown together, but nicely, welcoming a sister, because there's some people, like I said, who go back and forth. So there's one in particular, she goes back and forth. So she was on her way back and she was arriving. It's like, she's back, let's celebrate, So, and that was what was going on with that. So I would say that I think it's kind of a good example of us working together, actually. I don't know if being in a different country, being in Africa in particular, enhances that ability to work together, but it seems to me like it's working.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I will share this video to everyone who's registered, and then we will work on editing it and then putting it up on YouTube. And again, my YouTube channel is African Diaspora Journeys with Sharon, which is me. And also you can find my curated trips on Watermelon with Seeds Travel. And I do curated trips African diaspora all over the world. And hopefully maybe one day we'll be doing a little trip in the Gambia. Because if I come to the Gambia, part of that trip is going to be on the beach, and part of it is going to be, doing a creative thing. I don't know, pottery or basket weaving or something. So, it's like come for 2 weeks and learn how to basket weave.
Crafts there. Yep.
Yeah. So that's in my mind, but the Lord knows, and I just continue to work forward. So
Purity, if you want to, Sharon can maybe share Sharon, can you share my email with
I will.
I'll
do that.
If you want information, I'd be happy to provide it, whatever I can.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And coming up in the future, we have another video with Purity. And Purity has some things to talk about Kenya.
Kenya.
Yes.
So that's in the future, coming up real soon. Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Kenya's beautiful too.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you get to your day, and thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon and Wendy.
Bye-bye.